What is the most ridiculous slash fucked up lie your parents told you? Not too fucked up, but ridiculous. When I was little, my mom told me if I didn't finish my dinner my stomach would get very hungry and come up and eat my brain. A few nights later I woke her up at midnight crying because my stomach growled and I needed a second dinner or it would eat my brain. You just gave me a really weird flashback to when I was a kid and I had to have my kidney taken out because it was obstructed and was making me ill. I couldn't have solid food for a few days after the surgery, so my parents bought a bunch of supermarket ready meals. I even remember the brand. It was Blue Parrot Cafe, and ran them through the blender into a paste for me to eat. Problem was, I really liked it, so I would keep asking for these blitzed ready meals for months afterwards. They eventually made them a treat, so if I was good, I could have the food paste 40xd. When I was a kid my father told me about the can. He said it contained a family secret of incredible value and that when I turned 18 I could see it. On my 18th birthday I asked my father about the can. He said the fuck is the can? And after I reminded him of it, he burst out laughing, saying that he was fucking with me. For almost a decade I believed that I would be privy to some cosmic secret on my 18th birthday. Turns out I'm just very impressionable. Someone replied, show us the can. My dad got fed up of watching Barney the dinosaur when I was a kid, and one day, when I asked to watch it, he said, you can't. Why? Because Barney died. I never did watch Barney again. Someone replied, what killed Barney? The Ice Age. Someone else replied, yeah, my dad was the same. I asked him why he hated Barney once when I was in high school and he said, because he's an obnoxious asshole and I didn't want you ending up like him. My dad once told me if I didn't say a single word the whole way home, he'd take me to Arby's. In the driveway, I came to the realization that we couldn't go to Arby's as we were home. Me, we are not going, are we? Him, well, you talked just now, so guess not. Someone replied, man, that's no fair. I got told to play the if you don't talk, we'll get fast food game. But they actually took me to McDonald's and had to spend 10 minutes convincing me it was okay to talk so I could tell them what I wanted to order. That my siblings and I had a sister named Alice. Apparently she wouldn't stop talking in the car, so they dropped her off on the side of the road. Never spoke on road trips ever again. Someone replied, my dad told me exactly the same thing. He said I had an older sister named Matilda, but she kept screaming in the car, so he dropped her off at the side of the road and left her there. It didn't stop me screaming in the car until one day he actually stopped the car and told me to get out. He only drove 10 meters away, but I never screamed in the car again. Someone else replied, I remember a few years ago in Japan, a couple did this, but when they turned around, the kid had disappeared in the forest. It took a 7-day search to find the kid again, alive. I lived with my grandma until I was 16. My mom is currently telling me that never happened, and she never left me with grandma. I guess I imagined my entire childhood. Editing to at, lived with doesn't do it justice. Grandma raised me. I alternated weekends between my mom and dad, but I'm sure her 4 days a month are made up too. My dad died in a car accident a few years ago. Until this day my mom says that he is still on vacation. I don't know if it is a coping method for her, but I haven't said anything about it. Someone replied, I hope your mom has sought some counseling in the aftermath of everything. Losing a parent or spouse suddenly is a seriously traumatic thing, and it may have crossed some wires. Around the time Toy Story first came out, my dad drove an Infiniti, and he told us that he could press a button and go to infinity and beyond to jump over other cars. He'd have us close our eyes and press the button, and he'd speed up and pass the car in front of us while our eyes were closed. As a kid I was DUMBFOUNDED and thought he was magic. It's actually a nice memory compared to the other ones on here lol. My dad told us, my brother and I, that he could tell what card we were holding just by looking at the back of it. So we would hold up a card from the deck. We would hide it from him. We got creative, trying to trick him, and he would still be able to tell us which card it was. I remember spending hours with my brother and a magnifier trying to figure out how he could tell which card we were holding up. In my 30s, my mother finally admitted that she was always standing behind us and telling him. We had no idea she would betray us. It's one of the good memories of him, thankfully. There's a lot of bad ones, but that one always makes me smile. Edit. Removed a typo. I told my kids that there was a button on the dash that raised the wheels off the ground like a land speeder. I'd wait until I could see the tarmac change to a smoother grade and push the button and the tire noise would go quieter. When they asked me to raise the wheels, I would tell them that I couldn't right now because I needed all 4 down for traction and wait for another change in the tarmac. That my eyes turn orange when I lie, so I covered my eyes when I lied so my mom couldn't see them turn fking orange. My dad would say, I'm going to ask you a question, but keep in mind, I already know the answer. It worked. My child mind freaked out knowing there was a 50/50 shot, and if I guessed wrong I'd be grounded from the TV. Lol. The panicked silence told him all he needed to know. Edit. Of course my most upvoted comment is about my dad's parenting methods. He'd be proud. Solid dude who raised her kids while working 4 different jobs after my mom bounced. Shout out to dad. Someone replied, dude, your dad just intimidated me via this comment. That if I didn't brush my teeth, tiny teeth goblins would sneak into my room at night and pull out my teeth while I slept. I was genuinely afraid of the teeth goblins. Someone replied, well now I'm going to go write a movie about the ongoing battles of teeth goblins and the League of Tooth Fairies. A lot of these are sad, so here's a silly nice one. My birthday is the 11th of July. The gas station 7/11 gives away free slushes on 7/11. At 7, 8, and 9 years old, my parents just told me that the 7/11 wanted to celebrate my birthday by giving me free slushes, and I did not question it. I thought the gas station just really liked me. We used to have a farm when I was a kid. My uncle gave me few hens he had, and I told my dad that I want them to have baby chicks and sell them. He told me, we need to buy you a rooster for your hens. I said, why? They lay eggs and they don't need to have a male around. He told me the eggs won't be fertile and will never hatch. But what can a rooster do to make it hatch? He picks the back of their necks. Well, I can do that with a needle every day. And then he farts in their butts. The worst part one remember is me running to my mom after we went home to tell her about my recent discovery. Someone replied, I fail to see how farting in their butt isn't even more ridiculous than the truth. That it's illegal to turn the light on in the car while driving. Someone replied, wait, that's a lie? When I was younger I learned that mushrooms were a fungus and refused to eat them. My dad made me some soup with mushrooms in it and I threw a fit about eating it, so he inspected the bowl and told me they were whale toes. Apparently I was old enough to know that mushrooms were a fungus, but not old enough to know that whales didn't have feet. Greater than sign underscore. If I acted up, my mom would say she was sending me to the hospital to be put down. It really fucked me up. She even drove a sobbing, puking me to the hospital to be put down one day. She said she would give me a second chance and didn't take me in. So sorry. My mom did almost the same thing to my sister and I throughout our whole childhood and into the teen years. She would drive us to random huge nondescript buildings, screaming the whole time, claiming that it was the orphanage and that she was getting rid of us. Sometimes she would get out and physically pull our arms, trying to rip us out of the car. If she was near the police station she would try it there too, telling us we were horrible kids and that the cops would understand and take us away from her, which was super bold to me. It's a shame she never got caught in the act abusing her kids. Had a somewhat abusive father growing up. Only bone I ever broke was his handiwork. Both he and my mother insist to this day that it never happened. That I broke my foot in a marching band accident must have just slipped my mind. Wasn't surprised when the term gaslighting became more prevalent in society. Reading these comments thinking, that having one alcoholic parent feels normal now because you'll have messed up childhoods. When my dad wanted me to stop bothering him, he would send me on aimless errands. Go to the shed and get me the chain stretcher. I'd be looking for hours. I went off to college. My folks said they gave my pet away. I found out years later they had taken it to the vet and put her down. She was healthy and only 6 years old. Someone replied, just remind them of that near when it's time to put them in a home. I'm so sorry for your loss. Well, shit. How much time do you have? These are not in any particular order. Any food eaten before the prayer is over is lethal poison and will kill you. I was physically restrained, painfully, to prevent me from testing this obvious lie. I do not have rights until I turn 18. Because we caught you looking up pictures of nude women online. Now you're going to burn in hell forever, and we can't be together in the afterlife. This is your fault. The reason your mother and I wear this special underwear is that it protects us. There are people who survived fires and stabbings because of this underwear. If you are in an accident and you have someone else in the car, that person's parents will sue us, and we will literally lose everything and be homeless. Therefore you are forbidden to have passengers in your car. The reason there are only right-wing radio hosts on the air is because the liberal ones are run off for being idiots. While they never outright said, sex is illegal, their actions led me to believe it was for most of my childhood. Blocking my view in a movie or show if anything more than a light peck occurred, along with scenes containing violence, really kindled the concept in my mind that it was against the law. I don't talk to my parents much. Edit. Just because a lot of people are seeing this. A couple of things. Yes, I was raised Mormon and left pretty much as soon as I could at 18. I realize that legally parents can decide what religion their children can be and basically force them to go to church. I disagree with it, but at that age, about 13, I didn't know that and just wanted to find any reason not to sit in church for 3 hours every Sunday. They told me kids came from a government agency called the CAA, Child Assignment Agency, and that they could exchange me whenever they want if I ever misbehaved. They told me they were eyeing a well-behaved little girl, but hadn't decided yet. They used it against me for years. My parents would laugh that we can't send you back whenever I made a huge mess, which was very often. I was a strange child who could not understand that all unwanted liquid should go in drains and not on floors for many years. It's not that fucked up, but it's kind of a revenge story. When I was very young my parents told me I couldn't get carbonated soft drinks cause they said it was bad for me and I could die. Mind you, I was an hyperactive kid at the time. At one point I got a genius idea. I lived with my mother and my father would pick me up every weekends. My plan was Friday evening. When my father would pick me up I would tell him mom gave me Coca-Cola cause she said it's okay, you're going to your father's anyway. And at this moment my father accepted the fake challenge I have given him. The next Sunday evening my father gave me like a 1L of 7-Up just before dropping me off. So I was pretty excited. My mother asked me like, what's up with you? And I told her pretty much the same thing. Dad gave me 7-Up cause he said it's okay, you're going to your mother afterward anyway. And then my mom took on the challenge too. They never spoke about it out loud, it was kind of a war and I was the instruments. What they didn't know was that I was the evil mind behind it all. So all in all, I got my revenge. I got carbonated soft drinks and they never learned the truth until I told them years later. Like and subscribe, otherwise Daddy Reddit will drop you off at the side of the road.